First contact and betrayal. The United Earth vessel Thunderstrike cut through the darkness of space like a blade, its reinforced hull reflecting the distant starlight. In the command center, Commander Jackson Hayes stood with his hands clasped behind his back, his weathered face illuminated by the soft glow of tactical displays. 30 years of military service had left his dark hair streaked with silver, but his gray eyes remained as sharp as ever, constantly scanning, constantly assessing. "Commander," called Lieutenant Emily Reeves from her station, "we're picking up an unusual signal from the Proxima Centauri system. It doesn't match any known human frequency." Hayes turned, his interest piqued. Humanity had been exploring the stars for decades but had yet to encounter another intelligent species. Analysis? "It appears to be artificial, sir," Reeves replied, her fingers dancing across her console. "Definitely not random cosmic noise. There's a pattern to it, almost like a beacon." Science Officer Dr. Marcus Way approached, his typically calm demeanor betraying a hint of excitement. "The signal contains mathematical sequences, Commander. Prime numbers, specifically. This is deliberate communication." A hush fell over the bridge as the implications settled in. First contact. The moment humanity had both hoped for and feared since taking to the stars. "Send a transmission to Earth Command," Hayes ordered, his voice steady despite the momentous nature of the situation. "And prepare a response using the same mathematical sequence. Let's see if we can establish a dialogue." Over the next 72 hours, the Thunderstrike maintained its position at the edge of the Proxima Centauri system, exchanging increasingly complex signals with the unknown entity. Earth Command dispatched additional vessels to join them, research ships, diplomatic vessels, and, crucially, military support. "They're responding to our invitation," Way announced, a broad smile spreading across his face. "They've agreed to a meeting in neutral space, between our position and the fourth planet." Hayes nodded, outwardly composed but inwardly churning with both excitement and apprehension. "Prepare the diplomatic team. And Lieutenant Commander Blackwood, I want all defense systems at ready status." Blackwood, the Thunderstrike's tactical officer, raised an eyebrow. "Expecting trouble, sir." "Expecting nothing, preparing for everything," Hayes replied, a mantra that had kept him alive through countless missions. The alien vessel that emerged from the shadow of Proxima Centauri's fourth planet was unlike anything human engineers had ever conceived. Organic curves blended with geometric precision, its surface shimmering with an iridescent material that seemed to absorb and reflect light simultaneously. It was beautiful, alien, and utterly intimidating. "They're scanning us," Blackwood reported, tension evident in his voice. "Allow it," Hayes commanded. "We're doing the same to them. First impressions matter." The diplomatic shuttle launched from the Thunderstrike, carrying Ambassador Julian Rivera and a small team toward the designated meeting point. Hayes watched from the bridge, one hand unconsciously resting on the emergency protocols console. "Transmission coming in," Reeves announced. They're speaking English." "They must have analyzed our communications," Way explained, his eyes wide with wonder. "Their computational capabilities must be extraordinary." The alien face that appeared on the main viewscreen was vaguely humanoid, but with distinct differences: skin the color of burnished copper, four pupilless eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, and a mouth that seemed to consist of overlapping plates rather than lips. "Greetings, people of Earth," the alien said, its voice synthesized but remarkably natural. "I am High Executor Vex Oberon of the Voraxian Confluence. We have observed your species for some time and deemed you worthy of formal contact." The diplomatic dance that followed was careful, measured, and surprisingly productive. The Voraxians presented themselves as a species dedicated to scientific advancement and peaceful exploration. They offered technological exchanges, cultural sharing, and mutual defense agreements. For 6 months, humanity and the Voraxians built what appeared to be a promising relationship. Voraxian representatives visited Earth, while human diplomats toured Voraxian outposts. Trade began, cultural exchanges flourished, and the stars suddenly seemed less empty, less cold. Commander Hayes, promoted to admiral for his role in First Contact, maintained his cautious stance despite the growing optimism. "They're giving us too much," he confided to his new XO, Commander Diana Rhodes, as they observed a Varaxian delegation departing Earth. "Advanced propulsion systems, medical technology centuries beyond our own, why?" Rhodes shrugged. "Perhaps they're just generous. Or maybe they see potential in us that we don't see ourselves." "No species gives without expecting something in return," Hayes muttered. "I want deep scans of every piece of technology they've provided. Look for backdoors, tracking systems, anything unusual." Hayes's paranoia seemed unfounded until the colony on Tau Ceti sent an emergency distress signal. By the time the thunderstrike arrived, the once thriving settlement of 50,000 souls was nothing but ash and twisted metal. No survivors, no witnesses, just destruction. "Analysis?" Hayes demanded, standing amidst the ruins, his voice tight with controlled rage. Dr. Wei ran his scanner over a section of scorched earth. "Energy signature is Varaxian, sir. No question about it. This was their weapons technology." Over the next 48 hours, similar reports flooded in from across human space. Colony after colony, outpost after outpost, all attacked without warning, all devastated with surgical precision. Earth itself was spared only due to its hastily activated planetary defense grid, technology ironically adapted from Varaxian designs. In an emergency session of the United Earth Council, Admiral Hayes stood before the assembled leaders, his face grim. "The Varaxians have been playing us from the beginning," he declared, projecting images of the devastation. "Every piece of technology they shared contained surveillance systems. Every cultural exchange was an intelligence-gathering operation. They weren't preparing for partnership, they were preparing for conquest." "But why?" demanded Counselor Foam. "Why establish contact only to betray us?" "Because they saw us as a potential threat," answered Dr. Eleanor Wright, stepping forward from the shadows. Chief Scientist of Earth's Defense Research Division, Wright was a small woman with intense eyes and a reputation for brilliant, if sometimes ethically questionable, innovations. "They've done this before. We found references in their shared cultural database, heavily encrypted, but not enough. They identify promising species, establish contact, share technology to assess their adaptability, then eliminate them before they can become competitors." The silence that followed was deafening. "How do we fight back?" asked the council president finally. "Their technology is superior in every way." "Not every way," Wright replied, a cold determination in her voice. "For the past 3 months, I've been analyzing the Varaxian bioneural interfaces they use to control their ships. There's a vulnerability, a frequency that disrupts their neural networks. My team has developed a weapon that exploits this weakness. We call it Project Nemesis." Admiral Hayes studied the schematics Wright displayed. "This isn't just a defensive weapon," he observed quietly. "This would devastate their entire species." "Yes," Wright acknowledged without apology. "It would." The debate that followed was brief but intense. Humanity stood on the brink of extinction. Colonies were falling. Supply lines were being cut. The Varaxian fleet was methodically dismantling human civilization, piece by piece. In the end, the decision was unanimous. Project Nemesis would be deployed. The Thunderstrike, retrofitted with Wright's technology and commanded by Admiral Hayes, would lead a desperate counterattack against the Varaxian homeworld. "This isn't just about survival anymore," Hayes told his crew as the Thunderstrike prepared to depart Earth orbit. "This is about sending a message to any species watching. Humanity does not go quietly. Betray us, and there will be a reckoning." As the Thunderstrike accelerated toward its target, Dr. Wright made final adjustments to the Nemesis device in the ship's laboratory. Her hands moved with practiced precision, but her mind was heavy with the weight of what they were about to attempt. "Having second thoughts, Doctor?" asked Lieutenant Commander Rhodes, observing from the doorway. Wright looked up, her eyes reflecting the blue glow of the device. No, she said firmly. They gave us no choice. Evolution is ruthless, Commander. Only the strongest species survive. Today, we prove that humans belong among the stars, or we disappear from them forever. The Thunderstrike slipped into hyperspace, carrying with it humanity's vengeance and, perhaps, its future among the stars. Humanity's vengeance. The Thunderstrike emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Voraxian home system, its stealth systems engaged to maximum capacity. The ship's enhanced hull, coated with a material reverse-engineered from Voraxian technology, absorbed ambient radiation rather than reflecting it, rendering the vessel nearly invisible to conventional detection methods. In the command center, Admiral Hayes studied the tactical display showing the 7 planets orbiting the amber star that the Voraxians called Mokstar, sacred origin, in their language. The third world, a blue-green jewel suspended in the void, was their homeworld. Stealth systems holding, reported Lieutenant Zoe Maxwell, her voice barely above a whisper despite the fact that sound couldn't travel through space. The tension on the bridge affected everyone, creating an atmosphere where even normal conversation felt like a violation. Passive scans only, Hayes ordered. No active sensors yet. I want to know what we're dealing with before they know we're here. Chief Engineer Damien Frost approached, his expression troubled. Admiral, the Nemesis device is showing some instability. Dr. Wright is working on it, but she says the quantum resonance field is fluctuating. Hayes frowned. Will it work? She believes so, but she wants another 6 hours to stabilize the matrix. We may not have 6 hours, Hayes replied, gesturing to the tactical display where Lieutenant Commander Blackwood was identifying defensive positions throughout the system. The Voraxians had established a formidable security perimeter, orbital platforms, patrol vessels, and what appeared to be massive minefield. They're certainly not taking any chances, Blackwood noted. They must know we'd attempt retaliation eventually. Or they've done this many times before, Hayes said grimly. How many other species have they eliminated? How many civilizations have they betrayed and destroyed? Lieutenant Hiroshi Tanaka, one of the Thunderstrike's navigation officers, shifted uncomfortably at his station. Admiral, he said hesitantly, may I speak freely? Hayes nodded, noticing the young officer's discomfort. Are we certain this is the right course of action? Tanaka asked, choosing his words carefully. The Nemesis device will affect every Voraxian in the system, civilians included. Children. We're talking about potentially millions of non-combatants. A heavy silence fell over the bridge. The question had been on many minds but had remained unspoken until now. I don't like it either, Lieutenant, Hayes answered after a moment. But consider the alternative. The Voraxians have destroyed 12 human colonies, millions of our people. They gave no warning, made no distinction between military and civilian targets. They're systematically eradicating our species. With respect, sir, Tanaka persisted, doing the same to them makes us no better. This isn't about being better, Commander Rhodes interjected sharply. It's about survival. Hayes raised a hand to silence the brewing argument. Your concern is noted, Lieutenant. Believe me, I've wrestled with the same questions. But sometimes there are no good choices, only necessary ones. Tanaka nodded reluctantly and returned his attention to his console, but the moral weight of their mission hung in the air like a physical presence. Sir, called Maxwell suddenly, I'm detecting unusual energy patterns from the 4th planet. It doesn't match known Voraxian signatures. Hayes moved to her station, studying the readings. Analysis? It appears to be weapons fire, Maxwell replied, her brow furrowed in concentration. But the pattern is erratic, unfocused. Almost like internal conflict, Blackwood finished, looking up from his own station. They're fighting among themselves. Hayes ordered a tactical zoom on the region, revealing what appeared to be a battle between Voraxian vessels. One group bore the distinctive copper-gold markings of the Confluence military they had encountered before. The others were marked with crimson and black patterns. Are we seeing a civil war? Rhodes wondered aloud. Dr. Wei, Hayes called to the science officer, any insights? Wei studied the data for several moments before responding. The red-marked vessels appear to be using older technology, sir. And their formation suggests guerrilla tactics rather than conventional military doctrine. Rebels, Hayes murmured thoughtfully. Or perhaps resistance? A new possibility began to form in the admiral's mind, one that might change everything. Maintain stealth approach, he ordered. But adjust course toward that conflict zone. I want to understand what we're seeing before we make our move. As the Thunderstrike carefully maneuvered closer to the fourth planet, Dr. Wright entered the bridge, her face pale with exhaustion but her eyes alert. Admiral, I need to speak with you. Privately. In his ready room, Wright explained the problem. The Nemesis device was designed based on the neural signatures of the Voraxians we encountered, the ones who attacked us. But I'm detecting subtle differences in some of the neural patterns we're picking up from this system. What kind of differences? Hayes asked. Genetic variants, Wright explained. It's like, imagine humans from different ethnic backgrounds. Same species, but with distinct genetic markers. The Nemesis device targets specific neural pathways, but these variants might respond differently, or not at all. Hayes considered this information, along with the apparent conflict they were witnessing. Could we be looking at different Voraxian factions? Perhaps even a subspecies? It's possible, Wright acknowledged. But without more data, I can't be certain. Their discussion was interrupted by an urgent call from the bridge. Admiral to the command center, immediately. Hayes and Wright rushed back to find the crew staring at the main viewscreen in shock. A Voraxian vessel, one of the crimson-marked ships, had appeared directly in front of them, somehow penetrating their stealth field. How did they detect us? Hayes demanded. Unknown, sir, Blackwood replied tersely, weapon systems already targeting the intruder. They just appeared. They're hailing us, Maxwell reported. Audio only. Hayes hesitated only briefly. Let's hear what they have to say. The voice that came through the ship's speakers was unmistakably Voraxian, but rougher, less processed than the ones they had encountered during first contact. Human vessel, we know why you have come. We offer assistance against the confluence. Response required immediately. It could be a trap, Rhodes warned. Or the opportunity we need, Hayes countered. He nodded to Maxwell, who opened a channel. This is Admiral Hayes of the UEV Thunderstrike. Identify yourself and explain how you detected our vessel. I am Crack Soul, leader of the Liberation Front, the voice replied. Your stealth technology is impressive but incorporates elements of confluence design which we can detect. We have been fighting the confluence for generations. They are not the true voice of our people, they are usurpers, tyrants who have twisted our civilization's purpose. Hayes exchanged glances with Wright. You say you can help us. How? Permit me to come aboard with a small delegation. I will explain everything. If my words do not satisfy you, you may proceed with your mission of vengeance. But I believe we share a common enemy, and potentially, a common future. After intense debate among the senior staff, Hayes agreed to allow Crack Soul aboard, with heavy security precautions. The Voraxian that materialized in the Thunderstrike's shuttle bay was taller than those they had encountered before, with darker skin and only 2 eyes rather than 4, a striking difference that immediately caught Dr. Wright's attention. Crack Soul bowed deeply before speaking. I thank you for this audience, Admiral Hayes. I understand your caution and your anger. The confluence has much to answer for, to your people and to mine. In the conference room, Crack Soul revealed the truth. The Voraxians were not a unified species but 2 distinct evolutionary branches that had developed on opposite sides of their homeworld. The confluence represented the dominant, 4-eyed variant that had achieved technological superiority centuries ago and had subjugated the 2-eyed population. They call us deviants, Crack Soul explained bitterly. They use our genetic material for experimentation, force our people into labor camps, and erase our history from their records. We exist as shadows in our own world. You still haven't explained why they attacked us, Hayes pressed. Because you showed kindness to both variants during first contact, Cracksoul replied. Your delegation treated our representatives, secretly included in the cultural exchange, with the same respect as the Confluence members. This threatened their narrative of our inferiority. More importantly, they detected your genetic adaptability. Dr. Wright leaned forward, intrigued. Adaptability? Your species evolves rapidly in response to new environments. The Confluence scientists determined that within 3 generations, humans could adapt to virtually any planetary condition in our known space. This makes you the greatest threat they have ever encountered, a species that could potentially outcompete them across the galaxy. The pieces began to fall into place. The Varaxian Confluence hadn't attacked out of simple conquest but out of existential fear of a species with the potential to surpass them. So what do you propose? Hayes asked, still wary but increasingly convinced of Cracksoul's sincerity. A targeted strike, the Varaxian rebel leader answered, bringing up a holographic display of the Confluence Command Center on the homeworld. The Confluence leadership is gathered for their centennial conclave. Strike there with your Nemesis device, modified to target only the 4-eyed variant's neural pattern, and you decapitate their leadership while sparing the rest of the population. Dar. Wright studied the proposed modifications. It's possible, she confirmed. Challenging, but possible. And in exchange? Hayes pressed, knowing there would be a cost. Alliance, Cracksoul said simply. Help us liberate our world from the Confluence, and we will stand with humanity against any threat. Our technologies combined, our peoples united, we could forge something unprecedented. The plan was audacious, dangerous, and far from guaranteed to succeed. Yet it offered something the original mission did not, a path forward that didn't require genocide, a chance to defeat the Confluence without becoming like them in the process. Lieutenant Tanaka, present for the meeting, caught Hayes's eye. The Admiral saw his own conflict reflected in the young officer's face, the desire for justice tempered by the hope for something better than mere revenge. Prepare the modifications, Hayes ordered Wright. Commander Rhodes, work with Cracksoul on the tactical approach. We have one chance to get this right, let's make it count. The next 12 hours were a blur of activity as the Thunderstrike and Cracksoul's rebel fleet prepared for their coordinated assault. The Nemesis device was recalibrated to target only the neural patterns of the 4-eyed Varaxians, while leaving the 2-eyed population unaffected. It's ready, Wright announced finally, her voice reflecting both pride and apprehension. But Admiral, you should know, even with these modifications, we're talking about targeting an entire genetic variant. Millions will still die. The leadership caste, Cracksoul corrected. The Confluence segregates their population by function. The 4-eyed dominants in the command center are the architects of both our oppression and your species' intended extinction. The broader 4-eyed population will be unharmed by a targeted strike. Hayes nodded grimly. Launch the operation. What followed was the most daring military action in human history. While Cracksoul's forces engaged the Confluence fleet in a massive diversionary attack, the Thunderstrike slipped through the chaos, approaching the homeworld under enhanced stealth. The Nemesis device activated as they achieved orbit, emitting a quantum pulse that was invisible, silent, but devastating in its effect. Throughout the Confluence command complex, the 4-eyed leadership collapsed as their neural networks shut down, their advanced minds unable to process the targeted disruption. In the confusion that followed, Cracksoul's forces seized control of key military installations while broadcasting the truth to the Varaxian population, the truth about the Confluence's history of genocide against other species, their oppression of their own people, and their fear of humanity's potential. The revolution was swift, decisive, and surprisingly bloodless after the initial strike. Without their leadership caste, the Confluence military fragmented, many choosing to surrender rather than continue fighting for a cause built on lies. 1 week later, Admiral Hayes stood before the United Earth Council again, this time with Kraxul at his side. The Varaxian Confederation extends its hand in friendship and alliance, the rebel leader declared. Together, we will rebuild what the confluence destroyed. Together, we will explore the stars not as conquerors, but as partners. The treaty signed that day would become the foundation of humanity's first interstellar alliance, the beginning of what historians would later call the Terran Ascendancy. Not an empire built on conquest, but a federation founded on mutual respect and shared survival. As the Thunderstrike prepared for its journey home, Lieutenant Tanaka approached Admiral Hayes on the observation deck. "You were right to question our original mission," Hayes told him, watching the blue-green Varaxian homeworld rotate below them. "Sometimes the hardest path is also the right one. Do you think there are others out there?" Tanaka asked, gazing at the stars. "Other species like the Varaxians, waiting to be discovered, or to discover us?" Hayes nodded slowly. "I'm certain of it. And when they do find us, they'll discover something the confluence didn't expect." "What's that, sir?" "That humanity doesn't just survive," Hayes said, a hint of pride in his voice. "We thrive. Not through conquest or fear, but through adaptation, cooperation, and an absolutely stubborn refusal to give up. That's our true strength, and after today, the galaxy will never be the same." As if in answer to his words, a communication alert sounded on his personal device. A message from Earth Command, new signals detected from 3 different star systems, all apparently artificial, all attempting to establish contact. The stars were calling, and humanity, battle-tested but unbroken, was ready to answer. "Retriclaude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses."